25 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Tuesday morning. It's time for NewsBites. This is the portion of AM Ocala Live that we do every weekday morning, during which Robin McBlain and I read the news from the different news agencies that we subscribe to here at the source, WOCA, and we shorten those news items. It gives you a chance to catch up on the news without spending all day trying to do that, and it gives us a chance to put news back into News Talk. We'll start with this first story from Boston.com. It's also from the Associated Press. The U.S. has begun surveillance flights over Syria after President Barack Obama gave the okay. U.S. officials said a move that could pave the way for airstrikes against Islamic State militant targets there. While the White House says Obama has not approved military action inside Syria, additional intelligence on the militants would likely be necessary before he could take that step. Pentagon officials have been drafting potential options for the president, including airstrikes. One official said the administration has a need for reliable intelligence from Syria and called the surveillance flights an important avenue for obtaining data. Two U.S. officials said yesterday that Obama had approved the flights, while another U.S. official said early this morning that they had begun. The officials were not authorized to discuss the matter by name and spoke only on condition of anonymity. Army General Martin Dempsey, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, told reporters in Kabul, Afghanistan, this morning that the U.S. wants more clarity on the militants in Syria, but declined to comment on the surveillance flights.
The White House sent 3 officials to attend Monday's funeral for Michael Brown in St. Louis, 3 more than it sent for former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's funeral last year. The Obama administration's handling of the Brown funeral already has started to raise comparison between the two. For Monday's funeral, the White House sent 2 officials with the White House Office of Public Engagement, as well as Broderick Johnson, chairman of the My Brother's Keeper Task Force, reported by Fox.
And from CBS, less than a week after journalist James Foley was killed by the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, also known as ISIS, the news broke that Peter Theo Curtis, another reporter who had been held by an al-Qaeda offshoot in Syria since 2012, had been released. Curtis was held by the Jabhat al-Nusra Front in Syria, an al-Qaeda-backed jihadist group, and his release was negotiated by the Qatari government, though it's not known exactly what the group's demands were, nor whether any of their demands were met. In the case of James Foley, ISIS attempted to extort more than $130 million in exchange for Foley's release. Denied, they beheaded him as apparent punishment for U.S. airstrikes against the militant group. And that again from CBS News.
Primary day in Florida brings a number of races with it, some watched more closely than others. The races that are getting the most attention are for the governor's mansion. Rick Scott and Charlie Crist have spent most of their time and money attacking each other, but neither man is the official nominee of their party yet. Crist is facing former state senator Nan Rich. Unlike Crist, she's a lifelong Democrat, and she's staking a claim to the pro-choice vote. Rich has paid her dues to the party, but the polls show Crist, a recent convert, has a better chance of defeating Rick Scott in November. The question for Democratic voters is whether they should vote their hearts or go for the win. Rick Scott is facing 2 opponents considered token opposition at best. Neither of the challengers facing him during the primary have shown up in the polls, and analysts say Scott is a shoo-in for his party's nomination, reported by the Florida News Network.
And the next one is from the Associated Press. A newly released audio recording of what is purported to be the gunshots fired at Michael Brown Jr. from a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri on August 9th appears to show 11 shots were fired. The 12-second audio was played on CNN last night, and a lawyer for the man who recorded it said the FBI has been given a copy. The recording was made during an online video chat, but the video portion was not released. Behind the sound of a man talking to a woman on a chat website can be heard 7 shots quickly fired. After a short pause, 4 more shots are heard. A private autopsy showed Brown was shot at least 6 times. The final shot in his skull is believed to have killed him. Attorney Lopa Blumenthal told CNN that the man who made the recording did not realize its importance at first until he played it for a friend who then contacted her. Blumenthal said the man lived very close to the scene of the shooting but did not go outside to check on the situation until sometime after it had occurred. It was at that time he realized he may have recorded the shots.
Rocket maker SpaceX says it is targeting an early launch tomorrow, less than an hour past midnight Eastern Time, for its next launch from Cape Canaveral. SpaceX is planning to send the AsiaSat 6 commercial satellite into space from atop a Falcon 9 launch vehicle. Launch managers are keeping a close eye on the weather for this launch attempt, even though the issue of concern is expected to remain well off the United States coast. Officials said they are watching the behavior of Cristobal, the third named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. Intensity, size, and track of the storm will be factors that will get scrutinized. As matters stood last night, those appeared to be factors of diminishing concern. The launch was delayed for 24 hours for reasons that had nothing to do with Cristobal. Launch teams stood down for a more thorough check of the Falcon 9 in the wake of a self-destruct test vehicle in Texas over the weekend, reported by the Florida News Network.
And from the Bloomberg report, the earthquake that struck Northern California yesterday will lead to economic losses of as much as $4 billion, fueled by damaged wineries and shuttered businesses that rely on tourists. Insurers will probably cover about $2.1 billion, according to an estimate from Kinetic Analysis Corporation, which projected total losses of about twice that sum. Costs borne by this industry may be limited because many homeowners don't have earthquake coverage, according to the Insurance Information Institute. The main source of claims could well be commercial claims, those coming from wineries and vineyards and other commercial interests. According to Robert Hartwig, the Institute's president, he went on to say, quote, "It will take a while for the business owners to sort this out," unquote.
New Yorkers ditched their shirts and joined people around the world Sunday in celebration of International Go Topless Day. Around 200 bare-chested men and women chanted "Free your breasts, free your mind," as they proudly marched from Columbus Circle down to Times Square and over to Bryant Park in the name of equality. Go Topless Day falls on the Sunday before Women's Equality Day, which is on August the 26th. About a week before that date, in 1920, women earned the right to legally vote with the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which prohibits voter discrimination on the basis of sex, something 17-year-old Connecticut resident Grace DeChristina says is the ultimate reason for traipsing topless through the city streets. GoTopless.org fights to ensure women have the same constitutional right as men to go topless in public, reported by the New York Post.
And from the Washington Post, the Foundation for Moral Law is working to make Alabama the 7th state to offer customized "Don't Tread on Me" license plates featuring the Revolutionary War era Gadsden flag emblazoned with the yellow rattlesnake. The Gadsden flag was originally fashioned during the American Revolution and was inspired by a cartoon by Benjamin Franklin in 1794, depicting a rattlesnake broken into 13 parts, with each part representing one of the colonies, with the phrase "Join or Die." Some Tea Party members have embraced the flag as symbolizing their cause.
At least 9 people have been killed in a suicide bomb attack in a Shia mosque in Baghdad. This is according to Iraqi officials. The attacker detonated his explosive vest during noon prayers in the southeastern area of New Baghdad. It comes days after Shia militiamen were accused of killing some 70 people at a Sunni mosque to the northeast. Sectarian tensions in Iraq have been heightened by the seizure of large swathes of the country by the ISIS militants and allied Sunni rebels. They are believed to have hindered efforts by Prime Minister-designate Haider al-Abadi to form a new unity government, reported by the BBC.
And we have to take a little break. We've got a weather report coming up and a couple of commercials, and then we'll be back to continue with News Bites. If you're new to this program, first of all, thank you for tuning in. Second of all, remember we do this each weekday. It's a great way for you to catch up on the news.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Watch for rough surf and rip currents along the coast through Wednesday. Partly sunny and breezy today, a shower in spots near the coast, high 88 to 91. Partly cloudy tonight with a brief shower or two along the coast, low 69 to 76. Partly sunny tomorrow with a shower or thunderstorm, high 88 to 92. Thursday, clouds and sun with a thunderstorm in the afternoon, high 90 to 93. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Steve Travis.
Hey, it's Christy with Ocala Mac and PC Repair and Ocala Guest Wi-Fi to let you know we have you covered. We are the only local certified Apple and Microsoft computer company in Ocala. We are family owned and operated. From mobile repair to wireless networks, viruses, new systems, or security cameras, we do it all. Check us out online, ocalamacpc.com, or give us a call, 352-566-8324.
Tell them Nick, Madison, or Mason sent you and get free diagnostic.
Get your internet telephone service from the company that brought affordable internet service to Ocala in the first place. All is Safe is a sister company of Ocala Guest Wi-Fi, a company you've known and trusted for all your internet needs. Whether you need a phone or hundreds, we've got the products and services to meet your needs both now and in the future. Our plans include everything from local and long-distance calling to equipment maintenance and even software upgrades. You can count on All is Safe to give you cost certainty knowing that your bill will be the same next week, next month, or even next year. Call 352-450-8647 today to learn how to cut your monthly telephone bill up to 60%.
Let's face it, nowadays it can be hard to find American-made products, and that's something that Cabinet Sales of North Florida is well aware of. That's why they're an authorized dealer of Wellborn Cabinetry, family-owned and American-made since 1961. Cabinet Sales of North Florida is your answer for complete turnkey kitchen remodels and whole-house cabinetry. Their cabinets are finished with solvent-based enamels for a long-lasting finish that's second to none. Available in an incredible selection of door styles and colors to choose from to turn your dream kitchen into a reality. In-house design and drawing services are available. Come by and see our displays for yourself at the Floors of the Villages, 3935 County Road 216 in Oxford, or Exquisite Design Kitchen and Bath in Bellevue, right across the street from the Bellevue Library. So whether you're looking for bookcases, kitchen, bath, or outdoor kitchen, Cabinet Sales of North Florida is your one-stop source of quality cabinets. For a free estimate, call 352-427-2647. That's 352-427-2647. Cabinet Sales of North Florida.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
We should eat our larger meals earlier in the day so we have energy, and eat our smallest meal at night so the body can focus on sleeping. Successful relationships aren't supposed to be perfect. They require vulnerability. Telling yourself that a guy isn't good enough, our expert says you're really just giving yourself an excuse to stop trying. Couples should send 2 texts a day that provoke interest, like, I want to tell you about this cool vacation idea I had.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
All right, 12 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Tuesday morning. Let's continue with NewsBites. The next story is from the Associated Press, and it's only 15 minutes old. The presidents of Russia and Ukraine sat down for talks this morning, meeting face-to-face for the first time since June on the fighting that has engulfed Ukraine's separatist east. Russia's Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's Petro Poroshenko were joined by the presidents of Belarus and Kazakhstan and 3 senior officials from the European Union. Opening the meeting in Minsk, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko urged both sides to discard political ambitions and not to seek political dividend. The Ukrainian president was expected to face pressure to find a negotiated settlement, not a military victory to the fighting that began in April. That was the option called for by German Chancellor Angela Merkel in a visit to Kiev last weekend.
If you walk into the computer science building at Stanford University, Moby is standing in the lobby encased in glass. He looks a bit like a garbage can with a rod for a neck and a camera for eyes. He was one of several robots developed at Stanford in the 1980s to study how machines might learn to navigate their environment, a stepping stone toward intelligent robots that could live and work alongside humans. He worked, but not especially well. The best he could do was follow a path along a wall. Like so many other robots, his brain was on the small side, reported by Wired.
And from the Associated Press, Burger King says it struck a deal to buy Tim Hortons Incorporated for about $11 billion, a move that would give the fast food company a stronger foothold in the coffee and breakfast market. The corporate headquarters of the new company will be in Canada, which stands to help lower Burger King's taxes. Such tax inversions have been criticized by President Barack Obama and Congress because they mean a loss of tax revenue for the U.S. government. Burger King and Tim Hortons said the chains will continue to run independently and that Burger King will still operate out of Miami. Beyond any tax benefits, the tie-up could help each Burger King and Tim Hortons pose a greater challenge to market leaders such as McDonald's and Starbucks. It also reflects a desire by both companies to expand internationally. Burger King, which has about 14,000 locations, has been striking deals to open more locations in developing markets. The company sees plenty of room for growth internationally, given the more than 35,000 locations McDonald's has around the world. Tim Hortons has more than 4,500 locations, mostly in Canada.
South Koreans will be extinct by 2750 if nothing is done to halt the nation's falling fertility rate. This is according to a study by the National Assembly Research Service in Seoul. The fertility rate declined to a new low of 1.19 children per woman in 2013, well below the fertility rate required to sustain South Korea's current population of 50 million people. In a simulation, the NARS study suggests that the population will shrink to 40 million in 2056 and 10 million in 2136. The last South Korean, the report indicates, will die in 2750, making it the first national group in the world to become extinct, reported by The Telegraph.
And from ABC News, Lucius Robbie packed his car a week ago and set out from Horseshoe Bend, Idaho, heading for Missoula, Montana to start his junior year of college. But the California resident never made it to the University of Montana's campus. Friends, family, and volunteers are desperately searching across the vast mountain wilderness for any sign of the 21-year-old. His father, Mark Robbie, said it's not like his son to go missing. We're very, very worried at this point, Mark Robbie said. Robbie is a skilled outdoorsman who worked summers as a rafting guide. Relatives say he planned to explore on his return trip to college, even bringing along 2 orange kayaks. Volunteers scouring through gas station surveillance footage spotted what appears to be Robbie's green 1997 Subaru Legacy in Garden Valley, Idaho. His cell phone was picked up in a nearby town of Lowman. From there, the trail goes cold.
As it turns out, Americans don't like being reminded that British troops once set fire to the White House. After joking about the anniversary of British troops invading Washington, D.C. and burning the White House in 1814, the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. apologized Sunday evening. This is the quote, "Apologies for earlier tweet. We meant to mark an event in history and celebrate our strong friendship today." This was according to a message posted to the embassy's official Twitter account, reported by ABC.
And in somewhat reiteration, today is Election Day. Republicans, Democrats, and Independents all have an opportunity to cast votes that will either decide who will hold office for the next term or decide who will be on the November ballot to face an opponent representing their opposition party. The most closely watched primary race statewide is the race for governor. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Charlie Crist has been campaigning against Republican Governor Rick Scott for nearly a year, but first must defeat his Democratic rival, Nan Rich. Crist has refused to engage in debate with Rich. Similarly, Governor Scott must first defeat 2 Republican contenders. Scott's 2 opponents are Yinka Abosid Adeshina and Elizabeth Cuevas Neunder. School board members Bobby James, Angie Boynton, and Ron Crawford also hoping to hold on to their seats. They represent Districts 3, 4, and 5 respectively. They are all facing opponents as they hope to be reelected into their positions. Florida's District 5 congressional seat, currently held by Democrat Corinne Brown, will be challenged in November by today's Republican primary winner. The 2 Republicans hoping to face Brown are Thai Tui Low and Glow Smith. And Marion County Commissioner's Carl Zalek III hopes to keep his District 4 seat as he faces former County Commissioner Glenn C. Fiorello. The winner of today's election in that race will face Christopher Tarner in November. Tarner is a write-in candidate.
The Reverend Al Sharpton says the country needs to come to terms with the fact that something is wrong in America in the wake of the death of 18-year-old Michael Brown. Sharpton delivered the eulogy at Brown's funeral Monday in St. Louis. Brown was killed August 9th in a confrontation with a police officer in nearby Ferguson. Sharpton told thousands of mourners that something something is wrong when money is provided to give military equipment to police, but there isn't enough money for public schools. He called Brown's death a seminal moment in the country. Sharpton also said police officers who are wrong need to be dealt with. A grand jury is deciding whether the officer who shot Brown, Darren Wilson, will face criminal charges. The Justice Department is also investigating, reported by ABC.
And from the New York Times, the 66th Primetime Emmy Awards was a win for broadcast and cable TV, which earned numerous awards as the digital gatecrasher Netflix was nearly shut out. AMC's Breaking Bad scored big last night, winning a total of 5 awards, including its second consecutive prize for Outstanding Drama Series. The crime drama about a high school teacher who receives a diagnosis of lung cancer and starts selling crystal meth with a former student concluded its final season. Bryan Cranston, who starred in the series as the teacher, Walter White, won the award for Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series, his 5th Emmy win. The award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series went to Aaron Paul for his role as the former student. Anna Gunn, who played Walter's wife, Skylar, won the award for Outstanding Supporting Actress.
The $9.8 trillion U.S. corporate bond market may look pretty sleepy right now, but there's more and more happening in its shadows. Instead of bothering with trading investment-grade bonds themselves, investors are increasingly turning to derivatives tied to the creditworthiness of specific companies. Volumes in such synthetic wagers have surged to the highest level since at least in the beginning of 2011, in many cases outpacing trading in the underlying bonds. This is reported by Bloomberg.
And this is from Time Magazine, and it was released at 7:56, just about an hour ago. Israel bombed 2 Gaza City high-rises with dozens of homes and shops this morning, collapsing one building and severely damaging the other in a further escalation of 7 weeks of cross-border fighting with Hamas. In the past, the military has hit targets in high-rises in pinpoint strikes, but left the buildings standing. However, since Saturday, it has toppled or destroyed 5 towers and shopping complexes in an apparent new tactic aimed at increasing pressure on Hamas. The objects of the latest strikes contain apartments inhabited almost exclusively by middle-class Gazans who up until now have been largely spared the considerable dislocation that has affected tens of thousands of other residents in densely populated neighborhoods of the coastal strip like Shijaya. That has raised the possibility that the Israeli military is trying to use better off Gazans, like professionals and Palestinian Authority employees, to put pressure on Hamas to end the fighting on Israel's terms. This morning's strikes leveled the 15-story Basha Tower, its apartments and offices, and severely damaged the Italian complex built in the 1990s by an Italian businessman with dozens of shops and offices.
Hillary Clinton, who has yet to comment about the protests over the death of an unarmed black teenager in Ferguson, Missouri, ignored questions about the incident on Sunday. After signing more than 700 books, Clinton was asked by 2 reporters for her reaction to the controversy. Liberal activists and civil rights leaders have asked Clinton for her response, saying she is the presumed frontrunner for her party's presidential nomination in 2016 and that she has commented on major news stories in the past, reported by CNN.
From NBC News, 4 students at North Carolina State University hope to tackle a problem on many campuses by developing a nail polish that can detect so-called date rape drugs by changing colors when it comes into contact with the drugs. Women who wear the polish can simply swirl their fingers in a drink to test it for any colorless, odorless compounds that may have slipped in. The 4 male entrepreneurs behind the product, which they call Undercover Colors, have received many positive responses. They won an $11,000 prize from a contest on campus where they also have met with a potential investor. Cool idea. Robin, how many stories do we get in today?
23.
23, not bad. All right, we'll take a little break. Carol Ann Baldwin is up next to answer your garden and lawn-related questions. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The group Islamic State in Iraq is getting watched by our military from above.
President Obama authorized U.S. surveillance flights over Syria, part of a Pentagon effort to gather as much intelligence about ISIS targets as possible.
But I'm not going to be in a position to talk about the communication at this point between those military advisors and the advice they're offering to the commander-in-chief.
And White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest says no decision has been made about expanding airstrikes into Syria.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern. A first face-to-face for the presidents of Russia and Ukraine since June on the fighting in eastern Ukraine, and big winners at the 66th Annual Emmy Awards last night.
Breaking Bad takes home 5 awards, including Outstanding Drama Series and for Outstanding Lead Actor. Also winning big Modern Family with 3 wins.
Fox Radio's Michelle Polino says Modern Family took home Best Comedy Series. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Know-how! 5 quarts of Valvoline conventional oil and a Napa Silver filter for just $22 is a no-brainer. So now you're free to think about other things. Like, aren't zebras really just horses with cool tattoos? With 5 quarts of Valvoline and a Napa Silver filter for just $22, it's definitely something to think about. Conquer the job with Napa Know-how. General states pricing. Sales prices do not include applicable state, local taxes, or recycling fees at participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 8/31/14.
America was built by people with a few dollars and a dream. And while many don't know it, there's one path to success that still only requires a dream and about $10. That's right. If your dream is to start or grow your business, something as simple as the right business card could make all the difference. And today at Vistaprint.com, you can get